Participants, in the next session, let us welcome Mr. Akshay Bhonde, Senior Data Scientist, Singapore. Sir is also IQAC member of our DYPCOE Akurdi. And one more thing, I am very happy to tell you that he is alumni of our computer department. He is our own alumni. So let us welcome sir. Over to you, Akshay sir.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, I would like to thank Patil College of Engineering to invite me. I think this is a very big occasion for me that I've been invited to give a presentation here. I'd like to thank Principal Sir, Vice Principal Ma'am, HOD IT Ma'am, Preeti Patil Ma'am, who helped me set up this whole presentation and organize everything. Chaugule Sir, who helped me with setting up the whole webinar. So thank you all for giving me this opportunity to talk. Today, I'm going to talk about managing disruption. Before that, what I want to do is just to give you all a brief background about myself. So yeah, like you said, like you heard, I'm an engineer. I'm an alumni from Pune, but not from DY Patil, unfortunately. I studied in Sianger College of Engineering. And I'm an engineer from information technology. I passed out back in 2012. And after that, I've been working in the analytics and data science industry since then. So currently I live in Singapore and I'm working for a travel tech company called Pelago, which is owned by Singapore Airlines. So it's a new venture right now. I know it's not the best time to venture into travel, but yeah, I took the leap of faith and I'm here. I guess it's good and bad that I'm not talking about data science now for today. I'll be talking on a lighter topic called managing technological disruption. I'll share with you all some of my experiences and most importantly, learnings of what I've seen. So let's get started. Right. So first of all, let's try and understand what disruption is, and more importantly, what is happening around the world and how is the world changing around us. So you must have heard this phrase called the world today is VUCA. So what does VUCA stand for? VUCA is volatility. So a volatile world means that it's continuously changing. Today, the stock markets are up. Tomorrow, it might be down. You really can't predict what's going to happen, right? Everything is moving very, very fast. Second is uncertain. The world is uncertain. Like I said, the stock markets can be up, they can be down. It's very hard to predict, right? So there is a lack of predictability in the world, right? Things are moving so fast that they're hard to predict. Then the world is also complex. Can you predict whether it's going to rain today or not? Right? It's very hard to predict whether it's going to rain because there are so many factors involved. As the number of factors increase, the predictability also reduces. So the world is complex. There are so many things happening around the world. No one expected COVID to happen, right? But we're still here, right? And lastly, ambiguity. Let's take example of COVID again. So there's lack of clarity around COVID, right? No one knows whether the disease is going to be here or it's not going to be here, right? So unless and until we understand how COVID or the virus functions, we don't know how you can overcome it, right? So the world is like this today. The world is VUCA. Sorry, are there any questions?
No, sir. Proceed.
Okay.
We will take the questions at the end of your speech.
Okay, thank you. So next up, I'm just going to share with you a small video. It's a 1-minute video wherein which just shows the market cap of companies in the last 20 years, right? So first of all, let's try to understand what market cap is. Market cap is essentially the value associated with the share price for that company. So higher the share price, the market cap will be higher. It's directly proportional, right? So what this video is showing you is essentially what change has happened in the last 20 years and what companies have come in and come out from the top 10, right? And probably you would have seen this video, but just for the sake of it. Yeah, so as you can see that in the last 20 years, we see that a lot of change is happening, right? And this is unprecedented. Probably 50 years before, there wouldn't be as much change in the top 10 companies by market cap. And this change is happening because we are entering a phase where disruption is happening, right? So you can see the traditional companies that were valued the most earlier were companies like ExxonMobil, Walmart, all traditional companies, right? Some of these companies were also hundreds of years old. And these were big firms, right? To be able to displace these firms, now we see Apple entering the fray, right? Apple is a company probably the oldest in the top 10 you'll see by the end. Apple is a company which was founded in 1975, around 1974, I guess. But it has been able to displace some of these big firms, the oil firms, infrastructure firms. All of these firms have been displaced by software companies. By the end of this video, you will see that the top 10 companies, 99% of these top 10 companies are IT companies, right? And why this displacement has happened is because disruption has happened in our world today in the last 20 years. And this disruption has been unprecedented. It's been taking place every single day that we live, right? So in this slide, I'll try to explain you what disruption really is, right? So disruption technology is an innovation that significantly alters the way consumers, industries, or businesses operate, right? So let me just give you some examples. It's a very vague terminology, and it was coined by it was coined by Clayton Christensen, and he framed the term disruption. So let me give you an example and then come back to it. So think of Apple, right? Apple launched the iPhone in 2007, and it was a revolutionary moment in the history of mankind, because what it did was it replaced your laptops, it replaced your tablets, and it replaced existing mobile phones with just one device, which was the iPhone, right? Probably now 70% of the smartphone profit share is owned by the iPhone, right? It's taken by the iPhone, sorry. So this was a historic moment, and it completely disrupted how we perceive technology, right? People substituted the iPhone for laptops and tablets, which were historical devices to do any kind of work, right? Today, you don't need laptops and tablets to do most of your tasks. Everything can be done with the power of a smartphone, right? Then Airbnb. Today, you think about travel, and the next thing you think about is probably Airbnb. The way it disrupted the travel industry was that traditionally people would think about going to a city and booking a hotel. Today, people have found an alternative in cheaper options by going and sharing apartments with other people, going and experiencing stuff in cities that probably tourists couldn't in the past. And today, Airbnb commands 750 million guests, right? That is just under the population of India, right? Which is 1.3 crores. So that is how many consumers have used Airbnb, right? The next big example that we've seen is Netflix. Netflix actually pivoted in 2007, and in the last 13 to 14 years, it has completely revamped the way we consume content today. I will talk about Netflix a little more about in my future slides, but to understand what Netflix has done, it is revolutionary, right? Earlier, we would rely on people to produce, on producers and actors to produce content, and and they would determine how we consumed it. Today, Netflix has completely changed it. Then is Amazon. Amazon made 282 billion in 2019. That is a huge, huge number. And today, when we think of something, all we need to do is click on a website called Amazon.in or Amazon.com for others in the US, and we just buy anything, right? You think of a phone, you buy it, it's delivered probably within an hour, sometimes within a day, right? That is the power of technology. Lastly, Uber has become synonymous with taxis, right? Today, what people say is book an Uber. Don't book a taxi, book an Uber, right? Uber now operates in 700 plus cities, right? How many of us would even have visited 50% or even 10% of these cities, right? That company operates in 700 plus cities today, right? So this is disruption, and all of this, most of this disruption has happened in the last 15 to 20 years, right? So what has happened because of the introduction of technology, and because technology has become cheaper and cheaper, and these companies have been able to exploit that technology, disruption has taken place, right? So let's see what exactly are the causes of disruption today, right? So first of all, when businesses think about operating, they think about trying to reduce their cost, right? So whenever a business is thinking about how to reduce costs, one of the most important things they consider about are human resource costs. If 10 people can do the job of 100 people, they'd rather have 10 people than 100 people, right? So, and human resources are very, very costly, right? So whenever disruption happens, or one of the biggest causes of disruption is human resource costs, or in general cost cutting, right? Next is a very important concept called the customer value chain. So to understand the customer value chain, I'll again take an example, and like I promised, I'll take the example of Netflix in this case. So think of Netflix customer value chain, right? What did Netflix do? So Netflix was originally founded in 1997, and it was a DVD subscription business. So think of it as a company which will buy DVDs that were available in the market. Now, DVDs could be anything, right? Movies, TV shows, anything. So what they had to do was go to the producers and get those DVDs from them, buy those DVDs from them, so that they would hoard this stock. Let's say they have about 1,000 DVDs of 1,000 movies, right? Now they would actually acquire customers to subscribe to their service, and as customers subscribe to their service, they would email these DVDs to customers, not email, sorry, they would mail them personally to each one of these houses, right? So essentially what they're doing is they are acquiring content from producers, and they're using mail to distribute it to their users, right? So if you have to think about this today, this seems like such a cumbersome job, right? To email a DVD to every single person, it's a very, very cumbersome job, right? But 20 years ago, this was actually their business model. So what Netflix did was, it wasn't doing too well, and Blockbuster was actually in the process of buying them out but then when they declined in 2007, Netflix completely pivoted, and what they did was they completely revamped their customer value chain. And today, what you see Netflix is what has happened to it in the last 13 years. They've become a predominantly internet company, an OTT, or an OTT, which is over-the-top media streaming platform, wherein you just subscribe to their service over the internet, and and you can watch all the content that they have, right? It's so much more easier for you to consume content and so much more easier for them to distribute the content. So then coming back to customer value chain, what has changed, right? So today, let's say that a user comes in and he subscribes to Netflix. What happens then? The customer gets access to all the content that he needs, right? It's just through a click of a button, I can watch any movie today, right? And Netflix, all it does is it provides a platform to the world, right? So people are now watching all the content that they have. And what Netflix is doing only is trying to understand what people like and what people dislike, right? And through this platform, when they understand the behavior of people on their platform, the dislikes and the likes and dislikes, they can actually command or essentially take this information back to the content producers and tell them that, okay, this is what people like, this is what people don't like. So you need to produce this kind of content because this is my audience and this is what they want, right? And the producers need to oblige to this because it is data-driven, right? We are living in a data-driven world. So from 1997 to 2007, what has changed is the customer value chain. Earlier, Netflix only controlled the DVDs or the stock that they had. So they did not have control over distribution. They did not have a control over content production. Today, they own the content production, they own the content distribution, and most importantly, they own the platform. So there is so much reduction in cost. There is so much reduction in manpower required, and they know and understand the customers far better, right? So it essentially provides a much better experience at the end of the day to the customer, right? Thirdly, everyone knows what the Moore's law is, right? So what does Moore's law state? It states that the number of transistors on a microchip double every 2 years, and we pay less, right? Think of what device you were using about 5 to 10 years ago. Probably you owned a PC, and that PC had about 2 GB of RAM and probably 500 or 100 GB of memory on your hard disk, right? Today, probably you have 4 times that memory and storage capacity on your smartphone. Think in terms of size, that is could not be moved without the help of 2 or 3 people or 2 or 3 round trips, right? From one room to the other. Today, people flip their phones and get access to that technology, right? So that is the power of, or that is what Moore's law states. And companies are continuously exploiting this technology by using this to build products and services that can be done much faster, much more complex operations can be done in faster time, right? All of the tech is being powered with the help of transistors and microchips, right? Okay, so what next? What are the technologies of the 20s or the 2020s, right? So I'll give you a few. Obviously, they're not exhaustive, and we'll see how and where these applications are, right? So the first technology that I think and probably what I've read on the internet is embedded intelligence, right? So what is embedded intelligence? Every single device that you're using today, your smartphone, your wearables, like a digital watch, or every single application that you use on your phone is becoming smarter and smarter without you realizing it. Today, when you type an email on Google, when you're typing something, it will actually predict what you're going to type, right? Sometimes you get that. So how is it doing it? It's through embedded intelligence. Traditionally, softwares were built by just using pure programming language, right? There were rules written out, and people and coders would actually code out the logic. Today, in addition to that, Google also requires its software engineers to embed artificial intelligence within that. And this is happening not just with software, but with hardware as well, right? Today, your smartphones are called smart because there is a lot of artificial intelligence, machine learning applications running in the background. Second, cybersecurity. Why is cybersecurity important? And I think we've been hearing about cybersecurity for the last 20 years. At least when I was in college, I would hear cybersecurity is going to become very important and all of that, right? Cybersecurity will continue to be important. And there is a lot of scope in this because think of this, that traditionally we've been migrating from using devices to store data to moving to the cloud, right? Today, take for example, my company, right? My company, which is an internet company, does not have any hardware resources. We do not own a server. We do not own anything, right? In terms of hardware. All we do is have everything stored on the cloud called Amazon Web Services. So when businesses, organizations, people store all of their information on the cloud, it becomes prone to digital attacks, right? So because companies and therefore companies like AWS, Azure, and all the clouds and essentially everything that is happening on the internet needs to be protected, right? So you need to establish protocols, you need to assign access controls and all of those things. So therefore, and that involves cybersecurity. That is why cybersecurity is going to become more and more important. Thirdly, self-driving cars. I think it's going to be inevitable that we will have self-driving cars by the end of the decade or probably sometime later. But it is inevitable that we will see cars on the road that will not be driven by humans, right? So this is a fast evolving field and is a technology which you should be thinking about when you're looking for your next job, right? Lastly, digital money. I think most of us very, very clearly understand what digital money is. Your Paytm that is completely taken off India. Yeah, sorry. Your digital money like Paytm is completely taken off in India. So what it's done is it's become a substitute for cash, right? You don't need to now use cash as a denomination, or you don't need to store wallets or anything, right? Digital money has completely revolutionized the way we think about money. The next big transformation that's going to come is essentially people will start questioning traditional currencies, right? Like your dollar, pound, Australian dollar, Singapore dollar. People will start questioning the value of these, right? Because of the volatility of these currencies. And probably there will be cryptocurrencies that will take off. People will start believing in other things other than your traditional currencies. And looking at the speed of change in this world today, I guess that's a very, very high possibility, right? So the question is essentially now, how is it important to you, right? So these technologies, I'm telling you about these technologies because when we think, not just you, but when all of us think about our next job or about developing skills, we need to think about these technologies as a way of saying, okay, if I am going to build a skill or I'm going to learn a new skill tomorrow, I need to think about what technology is going to be relevant tomorrow. At the end of the day, we exist and our careers need to be mapped based on the industry needs, right? And we need to be relevant to our industry or our area of expertise. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is essentially life of an engineer, and it's going to be a far more lighter topic. I know I've burdened you with a lot of terms and a lot of facts and figures, but just bear with me for another slide, right? So just thinking about engineers today. So based on an AISHE report by the government of India, 38 lakh engineers enrolled as undergraduates in 2018 and 19, right? 20 lakh out of those undergraduates passed out in the same year, right? So that's just a little above 50%. Interestingly, only 20% were considered employable by the annual employability survey by aspiring minds. Another interesting fact by them was that only 5% of the engineers could write executable code. So what does this mean? And why am I scaring you so much, right? So it's not essentially that everything's bad and everything's going to fall apart. I'm going to probably help you a little bit more into telling you what we can do to, or what we can do as an engineer, right? Because this needs to change, right? So I'm going to put myself in your shoes and going to think about life as an engineer, right? So the thing that I can do right now is I know the mistakes I made, and probably I have some learnings from them as well. So if I have to relive my life as an engineer, I would do it the following way. Okay. So when I was exploring life, and this is the first year and second year students that I'm talking about, the first thing that I would do is I would build a personality and I would make my life more interesting, right? I would develop new hobbies, probably go horse riding, go trekking, go mountain climbing, do all sorts of things, right? I would make myself interesting. And why I say that is because last year I was interviewing Google, and one of the questions that she asked me was, what do you do, right? So we were walking from the entrance, and she was walking me upstairs, and we had a 15-minute discussion on how I spent my 10 days in Melbourne. So we spent 15 minutes on that. And because she was from Melbourne and I had traveled to Melbourne earlier, we spent 15 minutes on that, right? And what people are trying to do is people are trying to find people when they're looking at hiring, they're trying to find more and more interesting people. They just don't want people who can code better, who can do their work faster. They want people to be able to match to their culture, right? So that is something that I would do. Sorry. Yeah, the other thing is I would make many friends, as many friends as I can, right? Because you don't know, somewhere down the line, your friends are going to help you. Somewhere, someplace, I am in Singapore today. Tomorrow, if I have to go to the US, I have to think about whether I have any friends in the US or not. And believe me, make as many friends as you can. Thirdly, I think it's a very, very underrated thing in India, internships, right? I think many more companies should be willing, and many more engineers or any kind of a student should be more and more willing to go and get an internship for themselves. It's a very, very different experience, and it is an experience that will make you richer and far more intelligent as a person, right? Those experiences are going to help you way into your career, right? So I think that if I had an internship, it would have been way better. So the thing is, a next stage of an engineer or life stage of an engineer is when you start looking for a job. These are probably third and fourth year students. When you think about what companies are going to come on campus, what companies should I apply to, what is the career path I should have. So the first thing that I would do is build a social profile but a professional one as well, right? And I don't mean a social profile, meaning a TikTok profile or Instagram or Facebook profile, right? I mean, go participate in a hackathon, right? Go build a profile on Kaggle, participate in competitions. And sorry that most of my examples are more software and data science centric, but that's the best I could do. Sorry. So start writing on Medium. All of these platforms provide a gateway for you to enter into the world without even having any kind of experience, right? When you participate in a competition on Kaggle, people recognize you and your skills, right? And the skills that you learn over there are far more important than the theoretical knowledge that you have, right? When you actually learn something in theory, you can actually translate that knowledge into practical experience through these platforms. I actually got my previous job by winning a competition in a hackathon, right? So these things help and will go a long way in developing you as a person, developing your skills as well. because I hear this complaint from a lot of people, is that if I don't have any experience, why are companies looking to hire people with experience all the time, right? Who is going to hire us then? So one of the ways that you can tackle that is get some experience get some informal experience, but professional experience through one of these platforms, right? Then when you are actually looking for a job or you're applying to a job, try and look at every single platform that's available in the market. Don't leave any stone unturned, and probably explore as many platforms as you can. Today, with the power of internet, you can do that by the click of a button. You can just Google search and you'll find all the platforms, all the jobs that are there in the market. And then decide for yourself which job is important to you, which job is going to help you in your career, and which job you really, really want, right? Lastly, ask a lot of questions. So why I say this is talk to people who've been there in the market, talk to a lot of people, and ask, right? Ask so many questions about their work culture, about the work that they do, about what skills you need. Okay. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Last couple of slides. Are we okay on time?
Yes, sir. No problem.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you. Cool. So when you go into a corporate life, right, the first thing that you should be thinking about is learning. Whatever experience or whatever learnings you had during your formal education of 4 years as an engineer, think of it as your base foundation, but you need to gain more and more skills over there, above and beyond that. So think of those skills, right? So what is more important is what you can learn, not what you already know. The second thing is whenever you are in an organization, think about the value that you can create for the organization. You will always be valued and basically tested based on the value you create for an organization. When you think about that, if you can write a 10-line code to automate a task which is primarily done by 10 people, you become valuable, right? Because you can essentially do the job of 10 people. Or if you can generate $100,000 for a company, you become that much more valuable for the company. So when disruption happens, or when you're thinking about disruption and whether you're going to have a job in the next month or not, think about how much value you create for the organization. if you create more value for the organization, you are less likely to be laid off, right? In the worst possible situation. Then everyone is replaceable. Even the great Schumacher, who was probably arguably one of the greatest F1 drivers the world has seen, he said that everyone is replaceable. So even in a corporate world, everyone, no matter what position you hold, everyone can be replaced, and every day it is happening. People are continuously being replaced by someone else, and you need to continuously keep evolving and thinking about the first two things, right? Whether you're learning new skills, whether you're generating more value. Lastly, always plan ahead. So create your short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals so that you know what you're going to do in your life, right? Even in your career life, I'm saying. So if you think that you're going to be in the company for 2 years, have a plan about what you want to do after those 2 years. Think about your next role. Think about whether your next role, how you're going to apply for your next role. Are you going to be able to gain all of those skills in your current role so that you can apply to the next role? Or are you going to go for higher education in the next 2 years? What do you need to do? What skills you need to learn? Think about all of those things, right? And lastly, I don't have that on the slide, but lastly, always socialize with people. Talk to as many people as you can. Even when you go into a corporate world, socializing will help you more than any of these things. Okay, so now when you're looking for your next job, this is probably one of the later stages of your life, but I think this is very, very important. When you're looking for your next job, you're thinking about quitting your current job and then you're trying to look for another role. I think one thing that you should do is you should give yourself as much time as you can. So you're not rushing into things. You're not rushing into getting the first job, right? Do your research well. Think about all of those things that I've talked about. Think about what technologies, what industries are going to flourish in the next 10 years. Probably it's not a good idea to get into travel at this moment, unlike what I have done. But think about, do your research well. The internet is free, so use it wisely. Lastly, yeah, don't say yes to the first offer that you get, right? Keep looking. Like I said, patience is key. Keep looking. Then after you've exhausted all your options, then find a job or accept the job that you actually really like, and understand lastly why you want to take the next job by remembering why you're quitting your previous one. For example, if you don't like the culture of your current job and the next job that you get also has the same culture, probably wasn't a good idea to actually switch, right? So think about all of these aspects when you're making a career move. And lastly, keep calm and believe in yourself. So all the resources are available for you. I think today, the COVID has shown us that the world can survive using the internet. You don't need to be physically present in any single place, or you don't need to meet people in person all the time. You can do everything virtually. And most importantly, you can even learn virtually, right? And I guess your college and all other educational institutes around the world are doing a great job by conducting these seminars and webinars and showcasing even students that your education depends on you and not anyone else. You can take control of it, and you can really take control of your careers. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. First of all, pardon me for adding unrelated things in your introduction, sir. But it was...
That's okay. That's okay.
Lighter side, sir. I also tried to have disruption and jump from one platform to another. Is it? Sir, sorry for that. So, can I take some questions, sir?
Yeah, sure.
The one question is there from Pramod Ubale. Does the technology disruption affecting growth on other than software companies, or why only the software companies? Technology disruption affecting growth of software companies or other than software companies, and why so?
Yeah, so I don't think that a disruption happens only in software companies. I think we are seeing more and more examples of software companies because technology has evolved and technology is moving faster in the software world, right? So unfortunately, I haven't been able to find examples in my slides, but there are a lot of examples in healthcare, in other industries as well. For example, think of disruption, right? Think about solar energy. Solar energy completely disrupted the oil industries, right? What happened with the oil price recently is a result of disruption that is happening, right? There are multiple factors at play, but as and when self-driving cars come into the picture, as and when solar energy becomes more and more affordable, these industries will also be disrupted, and all of this will happen at a faster pace.
Okay, sir. One more question is there from Jain, sir. Should I take, sir?
Yeah, sure.
What will be the effect or effects of disruption on education sector?
Okay, so I think we've already seen examples of disruption. I always tell my father about this startup called Byju's, right? And everyone's hearing about it. The company is valued at 10 billion today, and what they've done is essentially the Netflix for education, right? So today, people don't actually have to have access to the best university in the world. You have Coursera for that. Universities are coming to you. You don't need to go to the best university in the world, right? So what I think what the biggest impact will be is that people previously were looking to get to the best university, looking for the biggest brand, right? What people will start doing is think about the skills that you have learned rather than the university that you went to. So take, for example, people will not value the person who went to Stanford, but they will value the person who is probably the best coder on GitHub or who's contributed the most on open source codes and platforms there. So they will value skills rather than brands.
Yes, thank you, sir. One more question is there. What will be the next big disruption in near future? Question is asked by Balabgol, sir. What do you think about this?
If I had the answer, I'd probably be a billionaire.
Yes, true.
Yeah, but I think the next big disruption can come from all of the 5 technologies that I spoke about. I guess driverless cars are going to come in. That's going to cause a big stir because especially in the more developing countries like India, Thailand, Southeast Asia, and obviously Africa, because we rely majorly on manpower and probably that is required. So when these driverless cars come in, it's going to disrupt a lot of things, right? So all of these things like cybersecurity and managing data policies, all of these things are going to become very, very important. Unfortunately, I can't pick on one.
Yes, sir. Principal, sir?
Yeah. Akshay, let me congratulate you for absolutely very thought-provoking presentations in the VUCA situation. We are in the world of the uncertainty, absolutely complex world, and in ambiguous situations all the time, in COVID situations too. The questions were also that how disruption is happening into this world.
Yeah.
With respect to the Industry 4.0, all the disruptive technology has taken place now. And you have mentioned that, ponder upon the current conditions, You also mentioned about think about the plan for the future. But every time, every moment, every year, every month, the technologies are changing.
Yeah.
Because of the disruptions, and in such a dynamic, volatile, uncertain situation, how to take a decision for the students or an engineer where he has to go and where he has to plan. Because by the time he decide that, oh, let's say this machine learning, AI, intelligent data, that's a data science, perhaps maybe the right field, and by the time he graduate, the technology have changed, the market have changed. So this is the kind of volatile situations. But so how to manage that? That was your discussion point of view, and perhaps every time that you have given the various examples of the Netflix, then Apple and Google, your experience and 15 minutes discussion with the Google people. So I think that the culture management and understanding the culture of the various companies which are making the proper disruptive technologies or creating the disruptive technology to disrupt the market is the challenge, right?
Yep.
So even today, but the culture may remain same perhaps. So if you understand the culture of the various companies, their thought process, their perspective plan, perhaps this will help us to tune with this, go on and working on to the various platforms. But naturally, as far as understanding the roadmap of various companies is essential, because everybody thinks that next 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, this will be the product plan, their perspective plan. We need to align to this one.
Yep.
So your thought process was absolutely very fine, and your illustrative, demonstrative explanation was absolutely fine, very clear to us. But please guide that how this Education 4.0 is going to adapt by this current education scenario in this current situation, because
Hello, sir. Are you there?
I think sir is having network problems, sir. Please guide how Education 4.0 is taking place in such disruption condition.
Okay, so I think at a gist of it, probably I'll answer the question this way, that today the way we are thinking about education is we need to change that slightly, right? Traditionally, what we thought about skills and how people got jobs was based on the knowledge that they possessed, right? So if I could understand and write a C program, I would be considered a skilled person, right? But today, from my experience in the last 5 to 8 years that I've worked, what I have seen is people don't value the knowledge that you possess, but what they value is what you can learn by coming into the organization. So I'll give you another example in that case. When I joined Alibaba, I moved there from Unilever. So what I had to do there was I had to completely understand the Alibaba cloud infrastructure over there. And most of the documentation was in Chinese. So using Google Translate, I spent 1 month to try and understand their infrastructure. Now, when I was leaving Alibaba and finding my next job, I couldn't tell anyone else that I understand the Alibaba tech infrastructure because no one else uses it. So what I had to tell them was that whatever platform you use, in my case, it was Amazon Web Services, I had to try and convince them that I could learn and utilize that platform and learn on the job. So I think one of the biggest skills that people need to learn and the mindset that they should have is not gaining knowledge in that way, but learning to learn. And every day you need to learn something different.
Yes, correct. But the domain knowledge is very essential. Apart from that, yes, yeah. It is the learning ability development is one thing, but domain knowledge is also very essential because ultimately we should be able to add certain value into their business, no?
Definitely. So I think what our education system does, and I think I value the Indian education system a lot, is because I think it creates a very, very good foundation for us. For example, I spoke about the C language, right? If you understand C programming language, that builds a foundation for you to understand any kind of programming language, C or C++. It gives you a mindset, and all the languages or all. And I'm sorry, I'm coming back to computer engineering only.
No,
But,
it's okay.
but these are your basic foundations. Once you have a good base, I think learning any language or pivoting that knowledge into learning something different, it's going to be very, very easy for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
RJ,
sir.
you can, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Yes.
you, ma'am. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
It's a wonderful presentation.
Now, in next session, today's our